Okay, so I've been promising to try to get some kind of a pressing video, and here we go. So if you want to see roughly how I press and some of the criteria that I follow, please stick around. Okay, welcome back, family. How's everybody going today? I'm going to be pressing a book. I'm only doing this based on the fact that my last return showed very good grades, and I didn't see any of the common problems that I've had from my pressing in the past. I've had one good return submission, so please bear that in mind. Please don't go pressing AF number 15 with my methods and say, well, he told me to do it. Okay, I am not an expert by any means. Okay, and please, I don't want anybody telling me that they screwed up a comic book following what I do. I'm still learning, but hopefully we can learn together. All right, so what I'm going to be doing now is I'm pressing a copy that I got from that garage sale, way back when, and it is X-Men number 155, first appearance of the Brood. She needs some help. She really does. She's got this corner, that corner. It almost looks like it got creased at some point, which I'm not going to be able to get this out. I know that, and pressed behind in between 10,000 other comic books. The inside, we've got off-white pages. They're not going to be able to help, but it's got enough small little defects in it, which I'm going to zoom in and show you guys and try to get some pictures, that it's a good way of seeing what a press can or can't take out. Okay, so without further eloquence, let's see what we can do. Okay, so some of the tips that we're going to be doing here, I'd like to just point out, and I've grabbed definitely not even qualify as a dollar book. It's Marvel 2-in-1 Thing and Spider-Man, and it's really horrible condition, so I don't care. Okay, I'm still not throwing it out because I can't throw out a comic book. But some things I want to point out to you before you get to your press. You need to make sure, go through it page by page. Okay, the amount of time that you're going to spend looking in this comic to make sure everything is okay might be 3 minutes, 4 minutes. Don't skimp on this time, because the one time that you make a mistake and you don't see it, you're going to be regretting it for a lot longer than 3 or 4 minutes. Trust me on this one. So you want to make sure, like I said, that the covers are clean. And when I say clean, I don't mean that the dirt is, scrubbed off or any kind of cleaning process. I mean, you don't want to have, hair. You don't want to have an eyelash on it. That eyelash might not look like much, but you will press it into the cover and you'll have a line there. You don't want to have dirt or sand or grit or anything on there. No foreign material at all. Now, we're going to be making sure we're going to go from page to page. Wow, just realized that's got the same ad as the back of that X-Men book. That's funny. Same Dungeons & Dragons ad. So, you're going to go page by page. And what we're looking for is making sure that no corners are folded over. Okay? No dog ears. And this is very important. If you have a corner of a book that is dog-eared, okay, you're not going to be able to save it. But if you press it, you're going to press that triangle into like 8 other pages and make the book worse. Okay, so if you've got a dog ear, and even though I say this book is worth nothing, I can't bring myself to actually fold the dog ear. If you've got a corner that's folded over and it's hard pressed in, straighten it out. Okay, otherwise that triangle will get pressed into all the other pages. It could even come through the cover. Now, it definitely will come, if it's the last page, it's coming through that back cover. If it's the front page, it'll be coming out through the front cover. And if it's in the middle, you might be coming out through everything. So make sure that you didn't accidentally leave a bookmark in here. Make sure there's no dirt. There's no little post-it note that you left yourself. Hey, don't forget to take out the laundry, and you realize to take out the trash, and you realize that you should have done that 35 years ago. Just make sure that the pages all look good. Now, when you get to the center, there are a lot of books that have inserts, okay? And I don't mean just the Mark Jewelers. There are other inserts. And you get to the center when you see the staples, okay? Now, if you've got an insert that's in here, if it has a fold out, if that fold out stops part way, okay, or if the insert doesn't go the full length of the page, and what I mean by that is if you've got, looking at it from, if your insert, when you look at it, looks like that, okay, where you can see part of the page, I would recommend letting a professional press that. Don't follow my advice on this, because I have yet to get a good way of doing it. Some people will say you got to put cardboard like crazy, but if you've got an insert in the middle, and if it's just a fold out, that's fine. But if you've got something that has multiple tiers, or it's not exactly the same size as the page, you will press that line, that mismatch, through the entire book on both sides. Okay, so the professional pressers will be putting cardboard in the middle, which I just don't particularly do. I have nothing against it. Okay, I don't particularly do it. If you've got inserts, you may have to put 1 or 2 cardboards on each side of it to make sure that it's so thick that it doesn't get pressed. You may have to back off on the spring pressure. I haven't perfected that yet. I don't have enough inserts to practice with, and once I press it in, I can't seem to get it back out. So again, you make sure that all your pages are clean all the way, no dog ears, and then you start your process. One other thing, and I said, I do not get into hydrating books, but if you wish to hydrate yours, I really don't know much about the process. What I do know is the 2 things that I failed at miserably when I first tried, and that's why I shied away from it. One is you do not need to hydrate for 24 hours. You will turn it into paper soup. And no, you're not putting the book into water, but it's in a humidity chamber that you make. And they're pretty simple to make. They really are. But you're looking at maybe half an hour. An hour. That's it. 20 minutes. Depends upon how much you actually need. The other thing is, and this is very important, distilled water. Okay, get it at your hardware store. Do not use tap water. Tap water has minerals in it, and the problem with the minerals is they will transfer to the paper and increase the process of yellowing the pages. And we all want white pages, right? So why increase the process for yellowing? So without further ado, let's continue with our process. Okay, so we're working with an X-Men 155. It's the first appearance of the Brood, but this book definitely needs some help. So I'm going to try to see if I can angle this and show you guys some of the problems. I know, read about what happened. What did I do? Here we go. Accidentally bumped the mouse. Sorry. So we've got right where my finger is. There we go. We've got indentations there. 2 big butt. I almost said it. Big dimples right in the page there. Now as we go further up, okay, this entire top edge, I'm going to try to see if I can flip it over and get the right angles. There we go. Got a lot of waviness here up at the top edge here. I can actually feel it with my finger as I'm going across it. We've got a nice little angled, you can see how it from here to here, got that nice little angle in it. That made it, I almost saw it there for a second. Okay, if you looked at this edge over here, the entire thing has got the rollover effect going on. Let's see if I can pick it up. It's definitely not sharp and crisp. This corner down here, it's also been damaged in this area. Now whenever you do any kind of pressing, you will not get out color breaks. And so if you got spine ticks, if you got little indentations in the spine, you have a chance to get them out. But if you got one that you see white lines that you've broken through, you're not going to help it. Now this corner down here also, come on with the glare. Be good to me here. Nope. There's just too much white here. Trying everything I can to get you guys good pictures here, because if I can't show you accurately before and after, then there's no real point. Actually, there's an entire crease that goes from here to here. I've got to figure out how to get this on here for you. All right, what I'm going to try to do is do a series of pictures. Let me see what I can do. Okay, so as you can see, what I wound up purchasing was a t-shirt press. It's worth like for putting on iron-ons and stuff like that. If you go onto eBay and look, you will actually see comic book presses. And if you look under the heading of t-shirt presses, you'll find exactly the same make and models for about half the price. The industry is wise to us, guys. If we know, they know we're trying to buy a comic book press, they take the same press and they jack up the price. I was actually able to get this one for $154.75, I think it was, with free shipping, and believe me, it's heavy. So the one thing I found out through trial and error was that my press is not accurate with temperature. It's actually about 50 degrees off, which I didn't. I don't care. I'm fine with it as long as I know how much to augment the temperature to be. So before I do anything, every time I have one of the presses, I will make sure there is no dust or dirt in here. Okay, so do this before you turn it on and make it hot. Okay, you might want to get a rag. Might want to get I'm okay with just using my hand because I'm used to feeling very fine in small things at my job. Literally to within ten thousandths of an inch. I'm feeling for any imperfections, any dirt, anything that might have actually accidentally gotten pressed in from the last book. Again, you don't want to do this when it's hot. Okay, if you feel the press that you have has got high spots in it, bear in mind that those, even through cardboard, even through other things, they will leave something in your book. You want to have this edge and this edge as smooth as possible. So that's why I like to leave the foam in here, because it allows for any imperfections in the bottom plate, which there are with the screws, to be compensated for. Okay, it's a really thick rubber plate, a rubber mat. And I also do use the Teflon sheets that come with it. I also bought new just in case these ever get messed up. Again, make sure that you have all your dirt, all your dust off of here. Okay? So once I've got the bottom ready, I'm actually going to turn this on and let her start heating up. And this model actually heats up pretty quickly. I got to give it credit on that. I say that. Oh, there we go. But I don't see it moving. All right, so like I said, this is off by about 45 or 50 degrees or so. Now, one of the things that you want to know is what temperature should you be pressing your book for, and how long. Now, there's a pretty in-depth article on CaptainMike.com, Captain with a K, and I highly recommend anybody who wants to go, because he also covers things like humidification of books, which I don't do. He covers things like cleaning of the books, which I don't do. I just give the books a press. But what I found, what works best for me, is I use a generic temperature, which is lower than the lowest of anything. Okay, so if you were to do something like, and I found this one out, Vengeance #1, or the Young Avengers #1, that's got that real glossy paper on the inside. If your temperature is too high, that is going to melt those pages together, and you will have a thick piece of cardboard when you're done. Also, I don't leave it under heat for long periods of time. Okay, I believe that Captain Mike actually recommends, depending upon the book, 15 minutes here, 20 minutes here, 30 minutes here. I do 30 minutes of heat, then I flip, and I turn it off, and I let it sit overnight. Okay, I'm not worried about the pressing part. I'm worried about exposing the book to too much heat. So, that being said, once this reaches its temperature, which, as you see, I have it set to 95. I don't know if you can see that. Also, I don't use the timer on this because this is in seconds, and all the timer does on this is beep, annoyingly beep. And if I'm upstairs and I have this set down here, I'll never hear the beep. So it does not turn off the temperature. I try to make sure that I stay with it. But what I did was I went to Home Depot and I bought myself a temperature gun. Now, this is not for checking your temperature for COVID, okay, even though it actually should be accurate enough to do it. I mean, according to this, my hand is at 84.7 degrees Fahrenheit, and my forehead is at 80. No, I can't be right. If that's the case, I'm dead. 87.2 degrees. So apparently, I'm dead. So anyway, what I do is I double check the plate, because if the thermocouple, the thermostat on here is incorrect, and if it changes at all, I may not know this. Let's just say that something went wrong in the controls. This is $29.99 at Home Depot, and it takes a 9-volt battery. Okay, and there's other uses for this thing too. If you're checking your breaker box, make sure you don't have any hot spots. If you're checking your oven, if you're just playing with the laser dot and driving your dog crazy or something, you can't even see the laser dot. There you go. But what I do is I make sure that this is actually reading under the temperature that I want. And what I'm shooting for is 145 degrees. Okay, now some of the older books, you can go a little higher. Some books you can go a little higher. But 145 is a decent temperature to press my books at. I know that other people will get the temperature as close to the max as possible. And I'm sure that they have much better presses than me. Well, that's more power to them. I'm not going to risk my books. And I actually have some very expensive books that I'm going to be sending out because I just don't have the faith. Now, I bought boards, backing boards, large size, like for magazines. And as you can see by looking at them, they are larger than you would see inside. They're magazine size. And I got these over at Hobby Lobby, a big package of them. The thicker you can get, the better. Now, even with that being said, I still make sure there's no dust, there's no dirt, because just the texture of this, you can actually hear my fingernail on it. It looks really smooth, but it actually has a very microscopic texture to it, and that caused me to lose a lot of grades for a condition called pebbling. I actually impressed this tiny little dot matrix into my comic books. I'm not going to do that again. Now, when I bought these backing boards, they have a glossy side and they have a flat matte side. I put the glossy side to the comic book. Okay, I'm just going to put that right there. That's going to be my base. Now I'm going to be using 2 other boards. I'm going to do the back of my comic book first. Okay, so I'm going to open up the comic book. Let me see. Yes, you can see that all the way. And I'm going to take this and put the glossy side, which I've already pre-cleaned this one, against the cover, spacing it equally left to right, okay, and in as deep as I can go, and then bring it back together again. Now you want to try to have this thing as close to the edge of the spine as possible, okay? If you have it further away, you're going to make a line all the way down your spine. You don't want to do that. So now I'm going to put this on here, and you don't want to line up the cardboard with the cardboard, because you want to have your book in the center of your bottom cardboard, right, as close as possible. The bottom line is you just want to make sure that no part of your book doesn't have that bottom cardboard between it and the liner. Now I have one more, nice and glossy. Check the flat side anyway, because if you had a little piece of dirt on here that you didn't know, it might actually push its way through the cardboard. And then leave an indentation on your book. Now this is going to go right on top of my book. And I use the silicone. You don't necessarily have to, but I like to, just to make sure that I disperse the heat. So if I do have any specific hot spot, I don't want to have, say, 165 here, 150 here. This will disperse it a little better, so that way you don't have like one microscopic hot spot and wind up burning your book. So now I bring it over, make sure that I'm lined up, and I'm going to close my press. Now I've seen some guys that they will press enough that they feel like it looks like they've bottomed out every one of these springs and crushed the living heck out of it. Almost like they have to, hey honey, come help me close this. I don't do that. Okay, I have very good pressure here. I like the fact that this has 6 springs on it to try to balance it out. I do not believe in putting 2 books in at the same time, because your press could go one way or the other, and if that's the case, then you're going to be getting too much pressure against your book. And what I mean by that is, let's just say I've got 2 books here, okay? side by side, and the press is pushing this way. Well, I'm going to wind up with extreme pressure here and not enough here. I'm going to crush the book and not get any pressing benefit. So we're going to stop this, and I'm going to leave this in here for 30 minutes, okay? And we'll come back to this in a little bit. Okay, so we've been in now for half an hour, and at this point there are two different options for what we do. One, you can either flip the book and do the front side for half an hour, and then remove it to put it into a separate location, maybe on top of a marble slab or something that you know is absolutely perfectly flat, and then you can put a weight on top of it, basically duplicating this to let it cool. But since I don't rush my books, I'll do one a day. Okay, I don't mind doing one a day. If I get up early in the morning, I can do another one, do two a day. That's fine. But so what we're going to do now is we're going to open it back up. Now, once you open it up, I have found this out the hard way. Open it and look. Make sure that nothing is stuck to the top. I've already ruined two books, and that's really bad because after the first one I should have learned. Just open it and immediately turn it off to the side, and everything is kind of stuck to the top. Now, it's not that you have it too hot, that's why it sticks. You actually get almost like a laminating, you press out all the air. So if you ever had two perfectly smooth surfaces and you pushed them together, and if you let go, basically you have air pressure on one side. It's 14.6 pounds per square inch pushing on one side, and if air can't get to the other side, it will keep it together. Okay, so that's what happens with that. Now, what I'm going to do is I like to let this cold press. So what I do is I turn off my temperature, my thermostat. I don't need it to be anymore. I wouldn't mind taking an additional reading, though, just to know where I was. It's actually a little bit on the cool side. It says 122. Let's check another spot. 123. Well, again, it's a little bit on the cold side, but I'd rather too cool than too hot. So now I'm going to reverse the process. Take out the silicone sheets, take off the top board. Actually, it looked like I had an eyelash on that, but thankfully it was on this side and not on this side. Okay, now we're going to take out the book. And we're going to be duplicating this process again. Now, by the way, one of the other things I forgot to mention is I like to put the spine away from this. Okay, because if I put the spine on this side, it's theoretically a little thicker, and I don't want the entire thing to be pushing up and not have anything. So when I put the spine on the opposite side, it gives the entire book a slight incline away from your fulcrum point, and I think you get a better reaction that way. So now I'm going to open this up all the way. Okay, I'm taking out my board, flipping it, putting it back on the opposite side, same way, as close to the spine as I can, and closing it back up again. Now, very, very important here. When you take this board out, if you see any color transfer from the pages or the cover or anything on this cardboard, do not use it again. And double check your heat. You're probably getting a little bit too hot. Okay? So now, I go back in here, making sure that my book is completely outlined by my bottom board. I take my top board, glossy side to the cover. I take my silicone, and then I come over and I close the press. Now it has heat in it already, okay? But the perfect way for me to do it, and I should have done this in the first place, was should leave the heat on. I leave the heat on for another 30 minutes, okay? And at the 30-minute mark, I will come over and just turn it off and leave everything closed. Then tomorrow, I try to leave it closed for at least 12 hours. Okay, originally when I heard about pressing for 12 or 24 hours, I actually left it in heat for 12 to 24 hours, and it was also, when this was off, so I was cooking about 195 to 200 degrees for 24 hours. Yeah, those books went straight in the garbage, okay? Some people will say that those boards that I put in there, you should use once per press. I've found that as long as the board still looks flat, because after you press 2 or 3 times, you're going to start to see the outline of the comic book, chuck the board. You see any imperfections, chuck the board. If you see any color bleed at any point, chuck the board. But if the board still looks the same brand new as after a press as it did when you first put it in, I don't have a problem with reusing it. Okay, we're trying to save a little bit of money. It's only a couple cents. It adds up when you start pressing hundreds of comics. So again, I'm going to leave this in here. In 1/2 hour, I'm going to turn it off, and then tomorrow we're going to open this up and check those results. Okay, so after taking a few pictures and looking at it, there were some things that I knew were not going to come out, and I specifically chose this book because I wanted to show you and give you an idea of the things that would and wouldn't come out. So let's look at a few before and after pictures of 5 points that I picked out on the book. The first one, let's see, yeah, it's going to be this one here. No. Here we go. Okay, so we had those 2 little dimple marks, which were right there by the girder, and they're just about, you only know that they're there if you knew exactly where they were and you could look for them. Yes, a CGC grader is going to find them, and I'm sure that there are pressers out there that are better than me, and hopefully you'll get better than me, and then you can tell me what to do. Because I think I would like to know if you have any other techniques. But I did remove those dimples by a good 90%. Okay? Next one is that bottom corner right by the Spider-Man logo. And it is markedly better. It is, it's all but gone. The next one was this was the one that I knew was really going to help, was the roll at the very edge of the book. It ran the entire length from top to bottom, and it is gone. It is a perfectly flat edge there, and I love that part. Now, this edge here, I'm going to try to make sure that I mark this. This actually had depth to it. Now, that's one of the big things is if you've got depth, if you've got a crease or something that, say, a fold which was pushed in because over time in between other books, if the books were stacked, laying down, all the ones on the bottom are going to feel it. If you've got something that was in between books, it is very important to keep your books clean, because once something has depth to it, it is very, very hard, if not impossible, to get out. And this got better, but it is not where you would want it to be. And the other thing, and I'm actually surprised about this one, is this top corner on the back edge. That's not the spine side. That's the open side, and I thought that would get a little bit better than it did. I was actually hoping that would go almost completely away, but it's kind of hard to see color break on a white paper. But I think that this actually had color break. It was too deep. It must have been folded at some point 180 degrees and pressed in, because it's really part of the paper's memory, I guess you'd say. And there's not really a whole heck of a lot that we could do with it at that time. So, like I said, that these are just some of the ideas I have. Hopefully you've learned something here, and if you see something that you think I'm doing wrong, or you have other advice or other tips, I really would love it if you shared it in the comments. Not just for me, because if it was just for me, I tell you to send me a message. But this is for the community. This is for the comic book family that we're all part of. And I say that, and I'm not kidding. I really consider us all to be a family. And let's share our ideas. Let's share our ways of making sure that we get our collection, our heart's desire comic books especially, to the best condition. Whether it's something that you want to have graded and then flip to take money and put it towards other comic books, or if it's just something that this might be your book that you had since you were a kid and you want to freshen it up so you can put it into a slab, like my X-Men 165 here. Long story on that one. You'd have to go back in my videos and look at that one. I recommend it. It's a cute one. It was nope, you got to watch it. So other than that, though, thank you so much for watching this whole time, and hopefully you found the information, like I said, that you like, and hopefully you clicked like on the video, because it's very important to help grow the channel. And subscribe, click on notifications, and share the video with somebody. That's really appreciated. Until such time as I make another video, which will be very, very, very soon. I've already got ideas. I'll see you, and I'm out.